Welcome everyone back to another edition of The Future is Female. Nicole Pinter, joined here as always by myself, Gabby Ducharme. Uh, Guys, we've got a lot to get into today. There's been a lot of big news that has broken in the last week or so in the world of sports. Of course, we took last week off. Nicole and I were in the middle of midterms. It was a stressful week, so you do what you got to do to take care of yourself as a college student first and just as a human being first. We've been working remotely now for the last year on this show, so it's definitely a process. We're hoping that next fall we'll be back in the Blaze studios, but for now we continue our endeavors over Zoom. Nicole, how are you doing on this fine Thursday morning as we're recording this episode?
Well, this week would have been spring break. It was last year at this time, which we'll get into in a sec. Spring break would have been really cool. Would have been a really cool thing to have. Wow, I'm burnt out. I don't want to do any school work ever. So I'm doing great. Thanks, Gabby.
I think I'm feeling it too. I think like yesterday we were at the genuine halfway point of the semester. Like the genuine, you look on the calendar, how many days are there here? How many days are there, to come? I think yesterday, Wednesday, March 10th was the genuine halfway point. And I looked at it and I was like, oh God, here we go for another 7.5 weeks of just nonstop go, 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 go. Um, yeah, on the bright side, intercollegiate broadcasting systems were last weekend. Our radio station, Blaze Radio, we won the best streaming radio station. Woo! We won best streaming radio station for schools that have more than 10,000 students. So radio stations that are only on the internet, like what ours is, or only on websites. We won that big award. Shout out everyone at Blaze. Shout out to our great board of directors. I think our station has been through a lot this year. So the fact that we were able to pull that off, really, really exciting. Nicole, what was your reaction did you see it on Twitter first? Did you see it in Slack? Where did you see it?
I want to say I saw it on Twitter first, and I think I had a similar reaction to everyone else where it was just like, whoa, this actually happened. And it's really cool. I know a lot of people were sharing just how much Blaze means to them, and that's so cool to see. I think of verified Twitter user Vaughn Jones specifically, but there's so many people at Blaze who make this such an amazing station. Like we're just one show of many. Please go listen to all of them. I know our station manager Jordan, I believe, won for his show. Go listen to his show. Go listen to all the shows. Because everyone here makes it special.
Yeah, Jordan won. So Jordan Spurgeon, shout out, station manager. He won for best sports talk show. His show is called The Spurge, but they pronounced it The Splurge. Like the man pronounced it very confidently. He was like, best sports talk show, The Splurge. And I was like, oh, I was like, close. I was like, yay. Wait, what'd you say? And then
Is that the right show?
Is that the right show? I was like, no, yeah, it has to be. I was like, yeah, Arizona State University, Blaze Radio, like that has to be. And then Gareth Kwok won for best play-by-play of men's basketball. So all three, or both of the individual awards came from the sports department, which is exciting. And it's also kind of admirable too, considering the sports department's so big. Like you and I are just two members of it. So that's exciting. And then the streaming thing, I think the streaming thing was like the biggest of all because it's a collaborative effort, right? Station wide. It's not just sports. It's not just music. It's not just news. It's not just promotions or production. It's everybody has to come together to make that happen. So yeah,
and not to mention you were nominated. You were nominated for your interview with Bob Bowman, I believe that was the interview nominated.
Yeah, I was nominated, and I'm very, very honored to have been in that conversation and stuff. I didn't win. I listened to the interview that did win. It was from BYU. Shout out to them. They had a really cool interview with like the head football coach, and it looked like, based on the date, it looked like it was like December of 2019. So it was right before, life started becoming what life has been for the last year. So it was a very, very awesome setup. I think you might have actually been like at a bowl game or something, or at a big football game. Anyways, the people who won the interview category for me, like for my category, I did an interview with Bob Bowman back in November. but the people who won were more than deserving of winning. And I know that I think it's just an inspiration for me to possibly get it next year. We'll see. So yeah, it was very, very exciting. Shout out Blaze and everything. Moving on, of course, though, from, awards to where we were 1 year ago on this day, March 11th, 2020, a day that will live in absolute infamy. Nicole, that was the day sports shut down. That was the day Rudy Gobert tested positive for COVID-19 after he had touched every single microphone in the room. What are your thoughts?
What thoughts are there to have? This feels like 10 years ago, and it was a year ago. Yeah, it's the 1 year not so happy anniversary of everything hitting the fan, basically. The NBA shutdown. I mean, on the day we're recording this. It will be March 12th when this is premiering, but still March 12th things were still getting canceled. So March 11th, NBA shutdown during the Mavs Nuggets game. I think everyone remembers where they were when all of a sudden it was SVP during the Mavs Nuggets game, and then he had Woj, and they were talking about the NBA season suspension, Mark Cuban's reaction on the court, Jazz Thunder stopped before tip-off. I forget who the Pelicans were supposed to play that night, but that game was supposed to be after the Mavs Nuggets, didn't even get played. Yeah, it was, everything got real. And then the following day, which would have been a Thursday, March 12th. Yeah, I don't enjoy remembering this, but trust me. I remember, so we were home for, ASU was on spring break. I was with my mom, and my dad was like, can you record the Michigan Rutgers Big Ten tournament game? I was like, I can't, it's been canceled. And then the last basketball game to be played was the Big East tournament. I forget who St. John's was playing, but I know it was St. John's because I remember their mascot sitting all by himself in the arena. It was just him, and I remember that image so vividly. To wrap this up, yeah, I remember this very vividly, even though it feels like 10 years ago. ASU was on spring break. Yeah, I had been at many Cubs spring training games, which I missed dearly. Yeah, what a year.
I mean, I think back in terms of our show. I remember, I think the week before that, I had done one last show with Sarandon, our other co-host, who's a senior now at ASU, who's very busy doing many other things right now. I had done like one more show with her, like on a Wednesday, I think. That was when our show was last year. I frankly, I don't remember exactly now, but pretty sure our shows were on Wednesdays that's like that season. And the next day I went to the Pac-12 tournament. I came home on like March 8th is when I came home from that tournament, or March 9th or something like that. And then I flew home for spring break. So I went from being in Arizona to Las Vegas. Luckily, I just driven between the two. From Las Vegas back to Arizona, flew on an airplane to California, all within the span of, the last 5 days before COVID truly hit. I haven't been on an airplane since. That day, that like Monday or whatever before everything happened. It was just, I remember being at home because I went home for spring break too. I went home just like see my family and stuff. My grandmother was moving out of our house. She was moving into a nursing home on like March 13th as everything was happening. And I remember thinking in my head, I remember my mom sat me down and had a conversation with me. She's like, well, what do you want to do about school? I said, I have no idea. I said, I'm getting text messages from people saying that there's still going to be sports when we go back next week, but I'm also getting messages from people saying, just stay home. Like this is real and it's about to hit very, very hard. And then within like 24 hours, the decision had already been made by the school. We were going online anyways. And now we've been online for the last year. So it's shocking. It's really, really shocking to think about. Nicole, what was the last sporting event you went to in person? Like that had crowds, that had no masks, that had no regard whatsoever for social distancing, stuff like that.
Yeah, it's wild to think of now. And like I said, I was at a Cubs spring training game. That was actually the last major sporting event I've attended, even up to this point. And it was a Cubs White Sox spring training game, and it was packed. Like, Sloan Park always is. It was packed, no social distancing, no mask whatsoever. There wasn't even a shred of thought of that. And same as you, I remember going home for spring break. I want to say that Sunday because my mom met me out there. She came home the next day on that Monday. And usually I have like, in my opinion, I feel like I have a good, at least intuition of, or feeling of, okay, something feels wrong. And I didn't, like, no clue. And I'm not saying like, oh, well, Nicole had no clue, meaning, wow, this was a real big deal. No, I'm just saying I was mad at myself because I didn't bring my Xbox home and I was without it for a few months. I was upset. Okay. And I feel like I usually have like something seems wrong. Maybe I should do this. I feel like I'm usually good about it. But yeah, Cubs, White Sox. The last place where I was where it was highly crowded was actually Disney World on New Year's Eve. I have never seen that place more packed. I'm appalled that I was even there thinking of it now. But yeah, it's wild. Gabby, what was the last major sporting event you attended and the last place you were where it was just so highly crowded that you can't even think of being there now?
So the last place I was that it was like an actual sporting event, I was at the Pac-12 tournament in Vegas, and then like the Monday or whatever that I came back, I was in Phoenix for like one day, and I went to a spring training game with one of my good friends. And it wasn't like super super crowded. Like I don't think it was sold out or anything, but like it was definitely more crowded, right? And then the last place I was that there was no regard for social distancing whatsoever, that it was just packed with people, was Las Vegas. There was a fight going on the weekend I was there. So people everywhere. Of course, it's shocking to look back on now. I can't believe we're actually a year in, and I don't know how much longer we're going to be in this state. I'm fully vaccinated now, which I feel very lucky and blessed to know. And I'm hoping everybody else will be soon too. So 1 year since COVID-19 truly hit in the sports world, especially. Of course, where it hit the most was NBA basketball. A lot has happened in the NBA since that 1 year mark. And so, Nicole, what were your thoughts on not only the NBA a year ago today, but like where the NBA is at now? We're at the halfway point of the season.
Well, it's kind of crazy to think. Obviously, things were happening between January, February, of COVID coming to the US, but it's crazy to think it feels like the NBA shutting down was kind of the beginning point of it. That's really wild to think of. Um, but yeah, we're the halfway point of the season. I mean, good job, guys. Like that's pretty impressive. Um, the Bulls are fun to watch. I enjoy watching the Bulls.
I do
I
love Zach
really hope
LaVine. I do love Zach
they don't
LaVine.
trade him. I really hope they don't. I don't think they will.
I don't think they will either.
You just never know.
I know.
Um, but yeah, we had the NBA All-Star game. Feels listen, compared to 2020's All-Star game, which was special for so many reasons, it feels hard to beat that. And this one was almost underwhelming in a sense. I didn't watch all of it, so don't, take my opinion with a grain of salt. But I mean, it all just it felt under the dunk contest. Like that's when that was so underwhelming. I mean, the All-Star game was successful in that it was played, but outside of that, I mean, my biggest thought on this is Steph Curry was unfair from three. That was insane. That was ridiculous. Yeah.
My
What are your thoughts, Gabby?
honestly, my biggest thought on it was like I forgot it was happening. And usually, like ever since I was a young kid, I would have that weekend marked on my calendar, NBA All-Star weekend. It was always a long weekend too, in school. And I loved it so much. I would like watch it every single day, every single night. But anyways, I really enjoyed that Giannis got the MVP award for the All-Star game. It's named after Kobe Bryant now, and Kobe made that challenge to him to say, Giannis, like he said he's like Kobe, what's my next challenge back in 2017, and Kobe just wrote MVP or something like that, and so that felt extremely poetic, I think. Yeah, a little underwhelming, and I don't think they were trying to match last year by any means. Um, Unprecedented, the most overused word of 2020 and 2021 probably. Of course, just within the last week as well, we had International Women's Day. Hello, we are the future is female. Nicole, who runs the world?
We do. No, girls, but us specifically. No, girls run the world. Really cool. It's always cool to see camaraderie, especially on the Hellish Bird app Twitter. So it's always cool. It's also Women's History Month. Girls do in fact run the world, and just support. Don't just support women in sports. Just support women. Just wherever you are. Just support women. It really shouldn't be that difficult.
Yeah.
We do cool
Today,
things.
not just on International Women's Day, but today, tomorrow, and every single day after that. I watched a panel with ASU actually put this on with Disrupt the Game. It's the agency for Shanae Ngumake, Liz Cambage, and Crystal Dunn. That was a really special experience to witness because Liz Cambage and Shanae are in the WNBA, and then Crystal Dunn plays for USA Soccer and she plays in the NWSL. So to hear about the camaraderie between the WNBA and the NWSL is really, really special. Crystal Dunn is a total bad, bad ASS. I'm not going to say it because radio, but
we just went with streaming. We can't break those rules now, like I just did. Like I have done them multiple times on the show, but that's okay. That's beside.
That's the point. No, but the panel was really special. It was a fun way to actually celebrate Women's History Month. Catch what I did there? Yeah. It's always a fun time on International Women's Day to see people rally together on the ever so toxic Bird app. Of course, because we're in the month of March, it's also March Madness, which is a really exciting time. ASU men's and women's basketball playing in the Pac-12 tournaments right now. Nicole, I mean, I don't know if we're actually going to be in the tournament this year as a school, but do you have any thoughts on the women's tournament last week, men's tournament this week?
I wish I was in Arizona, so I had Pac-12 Network, so I could watch these because the stream isn't like. I tried to watch the men's basketball game Wednesday night, and it just while doing homework, and it just did not like me. I think there's a lot more to be said about the ASU women's team going forward than the men, and I think that's just as you put in our doc, like it's a young team. There's not much to think of that. It was an underwhelming season, but all things considered, like the fact that the ASU women's and men's team got to play in the first place, it's pretty special. ASU has said Charlie Turner Thorne has said they will play in the NIT if that opportunity comes available. Selection Monday is coming up for the tournament and for the actual tournament, but I think there's a lot to be said about the women's team going forward, and hopefully we get to see them in the NIT.
Yeah, which I think they will get an NIT bid. It'll be pretty valuable to them. When they have they only have one senior on their team, Brianna Sanders, and she's been an integral part of that team now, obviously for 4 years. But she's not the best player on that team, and it's very clear to see that because she doesn't really start on the team either. Like I think she had a career high like a few weeks ago or a few months ago of like 9 points or something like that. So the future of that team really is like in their junior class right now, and then in their freshman class they had 8 newcomers this season. So I think ASU is just kind of known for being like really consistently solid. They've never won a national title. They haven't, not at least under the Charlie Turner Thorne era. They've never made it to the Final Four either. I think there's potential they could make it to the Final Four, sometime in the next few years if this freshman class really becomes what they're expected to become. But yeah, I think it'll be valuable for them to get an NIT bid and at least experience March Madness in some capacity, especially after they lost out on it a season ago. It's going to be really valuable. Like you think about the junior class, they've only been to one March Madness run, which is weird to think about, but it's true because their sophomore year it got axed. And so I think that's going to be very, very valuable experience for them. And then, of course, the men's team, I mean, I feel like they have to win tonight to have any shot whatsoever at the NCAA tournament. And Oregon is the number 1 seed in the Pac-12. So Remy Martin has to have the game of his life, I think. Like Alonzo Verge Jr. cannot make the same mistakes he made last night. He had a few turnovers last night that were just not good, like at all.
I mean, ASU we're going to kind of talk about ASU like their season is over. We'll happily eat our words if we're wrong. We hope we're wrong, but they have to play the best game of the season, bar none, not even close, to beat Oregon. And that is a really tough task to ask this team to do, because I've said it's a really disappointing season for the men. This is the best team they've put on the court in who knows how long. And, they had a losing record. That's not good. That's really not good. They have to be in their absolute best to beat Oregon. They beat Wazoo 64-59 Wednesday night. Yeah, they have to play their best game of the season. They have to be a new team to beat Oregon, essentially.
Yeah, and
everyone has to be on their A game.
I don't see them doing that. Unfortunately, it's a back-to-back game. They're all in quarantine right now anyways in Vegas. Like literally all they're allowed to do in Vegas pretty much is like go to practice and go to the game. That's it. Like if you follow Doug Tamaro on Twitter, he basically tweeted like, oh yeah, we're not allowed to do anything. Like we can't go to team dinner. We can't we can't do anything. And so I just don't see it. I really don't. I wish that I could, but I don't. So it'll be interesting to see. I really hope that I'm eating my words, tomorrow afternoon when this show plays. Because if I am, then I'm going to be really darn happy. It means ASU beat, one of the top teams in the nation, a team that probably is expected to go to like the Elite Eight or possibly even the Final Four, based on where they're ranked in the Power Five, in the Power Five conference. It's a team that's definitely going to go to the big dance. Moving on, of course, from the college game to the NFL. Some big signings occurred this week, and there are some quarterbacks who might potentially be going to Nicole's neck of the woods. At least she hopes. Nicole.
Let me dream.
Yeah, let her dream, right? Let her dream. Nicole, Dak Prescott signing a huge deal. Russell Wilson, is he going to be a Bear? Is he going to stay a Seahawk? Who knows? What were your thoughts, though, when you saw Dak finally get his deal done?
Finally, we don't have to talk about this anymore. Oh my gosh, what a relief. But in all seriousness, he got a 4-year, $160 million contract, maximum value of $164 million. 126 of that is guaranteed. Huge contract. He's only behind Mahomes in highest paid quarterbacks. There's a no trade clause and a no tag provision, which are two key components of that. He finally got paid. I mean, I'm happy for him. Is it an overpay? By very little, in my opinion. By maybe a few million, because he gets, I think, 42 every year, I think is what it averages out. I don't think it's by much. He's a cornerstone of that team, and he is clearly the reason they were not that bad. They weren't. Okay, they were kind of bad through 5 games before he got injured, but I mean, he masked a lot of those problems. As I think we said when he first got injured, he masked a lot of those problems. Whether this team wins or not will not be Dak. You have the quarterback position set. That is good. Now get everything on the defensive side, because it's been very few times where the Cowboys lose and I'm like, oh yeah, that was Dak. Like very few.
I think
good for him, good for Dak.
I think Dak unfortunately has both the blessing and the curse of being a Dallas Cowboy quarterback, which means the national media is watching your literal every single move and making really, really big sweeping judgments off of like one game here, 2 games there. And then when you look back at the end of the season and you're like, oh wait, he threw for like 4,000 yards, only like 8 picks and like, 25 touchdowns. Like, oh wait, he's actually pretty good. He's actually really good. And then you look at the statistics and like, oh, the stats don't tell the full story, but the stats also don't lie. So yeah, I think it's a good thing. I think he earned it too, even though he got injured and stuff. That was out of his control. He took a bet on himself last season, and I think the franchise, I would have been kind of mad at the franchise if they had just said, oh, we're just going to franchise tag you because you got hurt. That's a very, very BS thing to do. I say BS because I don't want to use the other word, but yeah, I'm glad that Dak's going to be a Cowboy for at least for the next like 4 or 5 years. He's going to make a lot of money too. Nicole, switching though from the Dallas Cowboys to the Chicago Bears, your Bears possibly getting Russell Wilson.
Guys, I'm getting my hopes up so high that I'm just gonna crash and burn when this doesn't happen. I don't take any joy in saying that this won't happen. Maybe it'll be our luck where we finish recording and 2 minutes later he's traded to the Bears. That would be great. You already know what my reaction would be, but
she's gonna start.
I mean,
crying. I'm gonna post an
yes,
excerpt on
probably.
YouTube. She's gonna like call me.
You have a quarterback, but I mean, Josina Anderson tweeted Wednesday night, "Welp, ... and that just set off everyone. Russell Wilson tweeted a Bible verse about, old things ending and new things beginning. And Bears fans, he tweeted that Thursday morning, and Bears fans are taking that and running with it. Just let us get our hopes up. Like, please. It seems like betting odds are changing. Like something's happening, and the Bears are willing to throw a lot of picks at Russell Wilson, or at the Seahawks, sorry, for this. And I think they should. Let me get my hopes up. If this does happen, you will hear me scream all the way from Illinois as you are listening to this in Arizona, most likely on Taylor Mall. You will hear me scream if this does happen. Just let me dream, okay?
Yeah, Nicole's going to be keeping an eye on Twitter for the time left that we have in this show. And if something happens, trust me, you'll hear about it from her. Of course.
Yeah, we only got 2 minutes left, so I don't think that will happen.
Yeah,
but it does.
If it does, we'll set up a chat and you can scream all you want. I'll post the clip on Twitter. Follow us on Twitter at the 13, blazeradioonline.com. Franchise tags. Allen Robinson is getting tagged, it looks like.
He's not a fan. I'll run through this one really quickly. The Bears and Allen Robinson have not talked for like the past, 10 months, something like that. So he was franchise tagged. They still haven't talked about a deal. Get this man his money. Like, no player likes a franchise tag. Get him his deal. He's earned it. The franchise tag only works in the player's favor when he goes to another team. It never works in the actual team's favor. Just please sign him. Like, he makes quarterbacks better. Like, there's no reason not to keep him. A lot of other players franchise tagged. We'll probably talk about that later as free agency starts. In other news, on the 1-year anniversary, and it's not like we're not rooting for this. It's not like we're not rooting for things like this to happen. But this is very premature. The Texas Rangers, Texas, in addition to fully reopening, 100% capacity, no mask mandate, whatever, the Texas Rangers Stadium will open at 100% capacity on April 5th, and then slowly dwindle down. Spring training in Arizona has also allowed people in the door. Gabby, what are your thoughts?
Why are we going from full capacity and then dwindling down from there as time goes on? I don't understand. Isn't it supposed to be the other way around, where you start small and then you get bigger as herd immunity increases? Hopefully, as herd immunity increases. I don't get it. Clearly, it's a tactic just to make a bunch of money on opening day. And yeah, it's gonna absolutely make Rangers fans go wild. People are gonna go insane, and the sport, they're gonna go insane, just like Nicole's dog did just now. Thank you very much. And I'm like, yeah, they're gonna be barking. Yeah, you tell them.
Yeah, premature. We're rooting for it. Gabby, real quickly, recent study found that sports fans have better mental health. Do you agree or disagree?
I agree. It gives you something to root for. What about you?
I see what you're saying, but Chicago Bears and Michigan Wolverines football have single-handedly taken like 5 years off my life. So maybe not. I don't know. Gabby, take us out for today.
Lots happening. We're going to see if Nicole's dreams get smashed or come true, hopefully by this time next week. Until then, everybody, please stay happy and healthy. We will see you all next time on Blaze Radio, blazeradioonline.com.